Welcome to Beyond What You See. Today, we are honored to go where we go beyond the story and look at the making of leaders, the story behind the making of leaders. And we have a leader here today. I'm honored to sit with someone who made a powerful impact in the college access, student success, and so much more. JohnRae Stowers. She know I'll mess up her name any day. But she's so unique. She has a unique name. She's the entrepreneur. She's over Jazzy Ray. We'll talk about that later on. She's she's so many things. She wears so many hats. I'm almost amazed at how she could keep her peace in the midst of doing all this in her journey. And we'll talk about it. So John Ray, she currently serves as the PI, the Associate Director at the Educational Opportunity Program at Marquette University for the Student Support Service Program, where she's the PI on the Federal TRIO grant. Her journey in leadership included being the former director of College Readiness 21. She also was the director of the Emerging Leaders Program at Marquette University, associate director, the assistant director with student educational services. She had been an upper bound counselor at Marquette University. She also was a missions counselor and minority recruiter at the University of Wisconsin, Parkside. She brings over 14 years of experience, probably way more than that, helping students navigate education with clarity, confidence, and purpose. John Way, welcome to Beyond What You See.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm honored to be here today.
We're glad to go beyond and see the making of this great leader that we have here today. Before we get in everything um, that you're doing now, we want to just go back because every leader has a story behind the story, and we want to learn a little bit more about your story. What first drew you into this work of college access and student success? And was there a moment that made you realize that this was your purpose?
Mm. I definitely fell into this work. My plan was to be Oprah. So let me be clear. I wanted to be Oprah. But it started in fifth grade. I moved to East St. Louis. And when we were coming back here to Milwaukee, my mom was adamant that my story and my journey was going to look different. I am the youngest of three. My sister is 10 years older. My brother is 8 years older. So at that time, they're adults. And so when we were moving back, she was adamant that I was going to go to a school that was going to prepare me for college. And so Morris Middle School was full. John Muir was open. It said gifted and talented. She was super excited about that. I ended up going to John Muir. And then from John Muir, I went to King. And King is school, the best school in the city of Wisconsin, if I may.
Hmm.
But went to King, and the whole what's the word I'm looking for? The whole premise of King is college bound, and so I ended up going to UW Parkside for undergrad, becoming extremely involved on campus. And I was involved with the African American Open House. From my involvement with that and bringing so many African American students to campus, when the admissions counselor transitioned, they offered me the job right away. I don't even without even an interview. And then I just knew, like, I had so much fun with it, bringing students who were like myself. I was first generation. I didn't know what I was doing. I like most Black kids, was planning to go to a HBCU, because I'm like, that's where I'm supposed to be. And my mother was like, and who was paying for that? So I just kind of fell into it and fell in love with the work of seeing students lighten up at the fact that they could change the trajectory of their lives.
Great. You spent your career helping students navigate complicated and complex systems. What keeps you grounded in this work?
I think what keeps me grounded in this work is just my own story, my own journey. And I know for a fact that it's important to keep it simple. And so when I'm working with students, I just, it's one, two, three. Like, these are the steps. We don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to do, this and that and jump through this hoop. I want to know the goal, and whatever that goal is, we're going to be intentional about getting you there. And so I think that's what keeps me grounded. And I think just my faith, in that, knowing that I'm doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm always excited when I see students, when the light bulb goes on, when you have that moment and you're like, they get it, or I connected with them, or when they are vulnerable and share pieces of their story that you were completely unaware of. That's what keeps me grounded in good work.
Great. Let's go back to your story. I know I know that faith, family was huge foundations in your story. I know your mother was a great story. John Ray as a little girl through elementary and middle school to and high school. What tell me what was that like?
Okay, so this gets me emotional because, of course, it triggers me to my mom. So my nickname is Sugar. So I was always known as
Mm,
being the sweetheart of the family.
mm,
Um, I always had a lot of energy. I always was creative, which is interesting because this will go into my story later. I used to make my own clothes in middle school. I used
mm.
to sew like patches and stuff on my clothes. Didn't know how to sew, but just like always being innovative, creative, excited. As a young person, I was a connector. Had birthday parties. Everybody wanted to come to the birthday party. Um, I sung in a choir, so my faith was very early on. I started singing when I was 4. And still, it's interesting because I'm still closely connected to a lot of people that I sung in the angel choir with. So
Mm.
my upbringing was really just all about like church and faith and friends and family and connecting everybody. There wasn't a lot of conflict. I feel like I tell people all the time, like, I grew up with love. Like, I was a loved child. So chaos, I'm not comfortable or used to chaos and confusion.
That's huge. That's huge. So love, chaos, faith, family, singing gospel choir, also making sewing, making patches, right? So John Ray, one of the things I admire about your journey is it's not just professional, it's personal, it's full, right? It's complete. Because beyond what people see in your road, you're carrying a whole life. You know, people, you hear people say, "I'm coming for your whole life to the full till it overflows." So because of all that, talk about some of the things you're doing even outside of the education that ties into your purpose or your passions today. Talk about your purpose and passions today, and how did you get there, and where did it start in your journey, and how it brought you for how did you go from sewing patches to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think that the journey started with, so my mom was huge into fashion, so let me start with that. And
Mm,
then when she got into ministry, it kind of calmed down a little bit because things changed and what she was wearing and doing or whatever changed a little bit more. But when I started Jazzy Ray, actually that started from me visiting East St. Louis, and my cousins, they're really big into the fashion industry, and it just sparked something in me, like, I need to do something with this. And it was, fashion, affordable prices. We didn't have it in Milwaukee. And at the time, it was for plus size women, because I was like, we need trendy clothes for plus size women. It's funny how everything connected. So I was literally driving back from East St. Louis, and everything just dropped in my head. Like, the name of your business is this. You should
mm,
be selling this. The women, that you need to contact first, are these women. Like I already had a plan as I was driving, and it was like God was just dropping it like boom, boom, boom. And I remember coming back and telling my mom, like, I'm about to start this, business called JohnRae. And she was so invested in it before she got sick. And she said, it's bigger than you think. And I'm like, this is just a hustle.
Mm.
This is hustle money, a little $20 here and there, $50. She was like, it's bigger than you think. And so I started off in my basement. Women would come to my basement, and because my husband is in law enforcement, he was like, you can't keep having these random folks in and out my house. And so I so I ended up getting a small space on Capitol Drive. It was just a little closet room where I just displayed all of my things on the wall. And then women would come and they would start networking and connecting with each other. And or it will be women who haven't seen each other in a long time, and they just happen to meet up at JohnRae. And so our conversations were more from, how have you been, to how are the kids, to how is your husband and relationships, and ooh, child, I'm so tired and exhausted, that it became a safe space for women. And so from there, because we were spilling out into the hallway because there were so many women talking and connecting, we were in the way basically.
Mm-hmm.
I opened up my own spot, my own brick and mortar, and it just became the safe haven. And so women still shop the brand. It's their safe place to go. I promote other entrepreneurs. They can set up their brand at the shop. But the most important thing I think that connects it to what I do professionally is I was able to create a foundation in honor of my mother, the JohnRae
Mm-hmm.
Legacy Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And through that foundation, so we already have this group of women, or these followers who support the JohnRae brand, that now supports the JohnRae Foundation, because now we're looking at not just fashion, but we're looking at students and sending them off to college. So I provide scholarships for students and or support them like when they're in school and the last dollar, or if they're short or what have you. And then we also do a big thing with cancer awareness. My mom had cancer. She had breast cancer, and she ultimately transitioned from pancreatic cancer. So making sure that women are aware of the resources and the know-how, or the what to do in terms of that. So it all kind of connects, because women, we're what, having children. we generally have kids, and we
Mm-hmm.
want them to do well. So we generally send them to college. And so it all just kind of connects. And with me being in education, I can help guide some of those conversations on how to support and assist their children.
So
That was a lot.
it was a lot, but just like your mom said, it's bigger than just
Mm,
some side hustle, some money. Is bigger than that. And as you was driving back, God put in or gave you the idea, the thought, the plans. It's
yeah.
amazing. It's amazing that there's a scripture in Proverbs that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Another translation said, where there's no vision or understanding or revelation, the people cast off restraint. And then another one said, they run wild. So you see a lot of
Mm,
people running wild, a lot of people perishing, a lot of people doing what they want to do. It's because they don't have a clear revelation, a vision. So, so man, I'm so glad that you were, even though you didn't know the fullness, that you stepped out on what you heard, and you took a step, intentional step on purpose, and see many years later, all the lives, all the people, all the
mm,
students, all the women, all the mothers that you're helping, because you stepped out when God gave you an idea. You didn't know everything in its entirety, but you stepped out and you see how he's bringing it together. So, from manage, how do you manage it all? Right, you're leading a program to serve about 300 students a year in college, getting them to and through Marquette. You're leading, you're hosting an annual Divas luncheon that the city rave about, social media light up about every time, if it's blue jeans or it's all white, you have all these women coming from all over the place. You're active in the community. You act, you run Jazzy Ray's jewelry. You're a wife to Chuck D. You a mother to two kids, a grad student and a undergrad student. How do you manage everything and still keep your peace?
Yeah, no. I think what's interesting is I get that question a lot,
Hmm.
and I thoroughly enjoy everything that I do. Like the stressful part is I'm like I want to be at everything and be hands on and everything. And I also say that this is probably a word to say, but I feel like something suffers, right? So, like, because I want to be at my daughter's performance, because I need to be at this graduation event, whatever, that might mean I don't get as much sleep as I would desire, but I make sure that I pace myself. I make sure, that I stay grounded and I take care of myself. I'm very intentional. I don't like adding anything to my calendar the day of because I've already planned, like, okay, I'm going to the gym at this time. I'm going to cook at this time. I'm going to clean at this time. And then spend, whatever time with my family. I have a husband who is from the South, and he is very adamant about his time with his wife. And my children, we're a very close family. So I think it's because I enjoy everything that I do that it doesn't feel like pressure or stress. I think that if I didn't, or when there's things that are not in line, that's when you start to feel like, why am I doing this? But for the most part, it's fun to see the brunch come together. It's fun to see my children becoming adults and watching that and supporting that.
Hmm.
But I also make sure I take care of myself. Which is why I have a notebook everywhere I go. And if you follow me on Facebook, I have a backpack that goes with me everywhere because I'm always ready.
Mm. Okay, you talked about staying grounded. With so many roles, how do you stay grounded? You got the backpack, you got the notebook. You said no day of you want to plan and be proactive. Is there anything else that helps to keep you grounded?
Yeah, prayer and my faith. I have a wonderful pastor and first lady, but then also my circle of support. I have like my best friends, who are a number of them are actually my sorority sisters, and if I have to be at something, they will open a shop for me. Like I was out of town and I had a fashion show. I had friends step up and run the whole fashion show for me day of because I was out of town. So I think that's important too, to have people around you who support what you do and support you and can and pick up and carry when you need them to.
Great, great. I want to go back to a moment, just for a moment, because your work is rooted in your own experience. Let's talk about your college journey.
Mm. Yes.
What was the college experience like?
Um,
Academically, socially, personally? Who were you during that time?
mm. Woo, child, Stephen. You're trying to trigger these tears. Who was I? Let me say this. Oh my God. Let me get myself together. Because I'm a crybaby. But I think woo, okay. I was young. I was the youngest person. My birthday is in November. So I started school early. So I was very young. And so I was searching and attaching myself to people who I'm like, oh, I love this woman. She can carry me through. She can help me figure it out. Um, uh, can I drop names? Like Bridget Johnson. She was my admissions counselor. When I tell you I latched on to Bridget like I was her child, to help me get through college, definitely I will always give her flowers. But I was so focused on getting the degree that I don't remember necessarily what I learned in the
Mm,
classroom.
mm.
I learned people dynamics. I learned, leadership opportunities, how to grow and thrive. But if you ask me what happened in the textbook, that might be a little more challenging. Because I was so focused on the finish line that I don't think I absorbed as much as I should have in undergrad. But in grad school, I enjoyed that journey completely. It was, I get it, I'm in it, this is what I want to do. But yeah, I was very involved too in undergrad. Involved with the Black Student Union. I was homecoming queen. I was in the Ebony magazine. I was an RA. So I was very involved, but I was doing all the things. I did well academically. I graduated magna cum laude, but it was just emotions. It was just getting it done. Because I wanted to make sure that I tapped into all of the experiences that I could, whether it be Greek life, jobs and everything, people. Yeah, I just, yeah, degree me. I'm like, degree me. What I need to do to get the degree?
Absolutely. What's one of the best decisions you made in college that still impact your life today?
One of the best decisions that I made in college, I this is gonna sound really like, okay, John Ray, but it was being good to people.
Mm,
It was being good to people. I was like the mother on campus. It's funny, I'm the youngest, but I have an old soul. So I was like the mother on campus. So when people were making decisions and things, they would come to me like, "What do you think? Should I do this?" Or, "Ooh, don't tell John Ray, she's gonna be mad." So I was good to people, which I think has helped me be successful today. Like a lot of them support my brand and support me because I was good to them
okay.
then.
I'm gonna ask a follow-up question. I'm trying to set you
Okay.
up. Were there
Oh,
any organizations, programs, or spaces that shaped your path or changed your life? Think of the
yeah.
blue.
Yes. Think of, yes. Oh, yes. I think Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Absolutely. And I did that as a second semester freshman.
Mm,
Okay. I did it as a second semester freshman. Crazy, but I did it. And those women shaped, definitely. It's interesting because to know that one of our past international presidents helped bring me in the sorority actually is an EOP alum,
mm.
which is where I'm serving. I
Wow,
just think that's beautiful.
that
Just
is
beautiful. It speaks to leadership all the way around, like full circle.
that is so good. Let's talk about how that experience as a second semester sophomore. Where did your sense of belonging in college come from? How did that affect your sense of belonging, being a part of organizations and so many organizations that you were involved with
Yeah.
undergrad?
I was a second semester freshman, so I was
Oh,
very new. I know, my very first year of college.
mm,
And it shaped me because the women that I engaged with, the women in the sorority, were leaders on campus. So that's iron sharpens iron. So because they were leaders on campus, and as a freshman, I latched on to these leaders. I had no other choice but to lead.
mm.
They wouldn't. It was this. What that was the expectation, and I think that that also, like, I had to carry the torch. I had a responsibility. They had different expectations, and you had to meet those and adhere to it. um, I became an RA because my, I don't want to say, the leader who helped our group come in, she was an RA. So she was telling me, you need to pay for school. This will help you pay for school. And she helped me, figure it out and order the steps.
Wow. What would you say to a student who feels overwhelmed or unsure if they belong in school or if they can do it?
Yeah, I think I would tell a student who is unsure, to really examine the why. What made you consider it? What were you planning to go to college for? A number of times, it's the natural next step that people think that they are supposed to take. Right? We
Mm,
grew up like you do elementary school, you do high school, then you go to college. That's what you're supposed to do. And so it's helping students find their why and find their purpose, and then be intentional about helping them get there. And so I actually have students write things down, like what's clouding your mind right now. Like write everything down that's clouding your mind, and then we kind of go through it, like what control do you have over that? Okay, so we're not going to stress about that because you can't do anything about that. Let's move on. Okay, this. So then I kind of walk through the steps to help them figure out, like, hey, I'm stressed out about things that don't even apply or have anything to do with me. And then that kind of helps to reshape their focus or reframe what it is that they're thinking. Um, but I always like to create a safe space for students so that they can be vulnerable, so that I can normalize the experience. Because
mm.
usually that's what they need, is for somebody to normalize the experience. Like, you're overwhelmed. I get it. I was overwhelmed too. I didn't know who to talk to. You don't either. And just kind of help them figure out, like, this is normal. What you're feeling right now, I get it. And then kind of build them from there. But it all starts with the relationship.
Good. If you could go back and talk to your college self, what would you say?
If I can talk to my college self, what would I say? I would say, girl, if you don't take advantage of these opportunities, you are nuts. I did it. Like, I was supposed to study abroad. I did it because I was scared. I had never been probably further than East St. Louis at that time. So I didn't. I was fearful, and then I was thinking, like, who gonna pay for it? Not knowing that you could tap into different resources. I had an internship opportunity at State Farm, making a lot of money for somebody at that age. Turned it down because I didn't want to leave my boyfriend.
Mm.
Like, right, exactly. So it gives me great joy to talk to students now and say, if you don't get on that plane and take advantage of these experiences and opportunity. I love to hear when students say they're doing less Aspen. That, like, makes my heart smile. But yeah, I was like, girl, if you don't do it, that's what I would tell my college self. I was so scared, so afraid.
Great. When it's all said and done,
Mm.
what do you want your impact to be?
When it's all said and done, I want my impact to be, mm, maybe, let me see. I want people to say that, she cared. She connected me as a connect to different people, resources, what have you. And that, I knew that when I was with her, I was safe.
Mm. So she cared, she connected, she cultivated, and kept you safe. Wonderful things. I noticed you talk to a whole lot of different audience. To the mothers, to the women, to the students out there, to the faith communities out there. So many times we have problems and we have situations or circumstance that face us, and sometimes we don't know how we could get through. Can you just take about a couple seconds and talk to those people that may be going through some tough times, thinking they can't bounce back from a loved one's death. They can't bounce back from a divorce. They can't bounce back from, a situation when life hit them kind of hard. What would you say to them?
Mm. My very first thought is, trust the process and embrace the journey. I think that every feeling, every emotion is valid and it's okay. But to push through every single day and to surround yourself with people who are positive, who are going to embrace you, who are going to allow you to be vulnerable, and say how you feel. It's so important to surround yourself with people that you trust and that will allow you to just be expressive. I just remember when I lost my mother and I caught myself holding it all together, and I got with one of my best friends, and that cry, when I hear it from someone else, I know that cry, it's a sound that that that's just being able to just release. And I think that, like, normalizing just experiences of life. Like, there's gonna be some highs, there's gonna be some lows. All of it is part of the process. And I think that even on the bad days, I'm staying encouraged,
Mm.
staying prayed up. Sometimes you gotta fast and pray and disconnect. Um, but just stay in the game. Yeah.
That's huge. Thank you so much, John Ray. John Ray, listening to your journey, it's clear that it's more than a road. This is purpose. We
Mhm.
heard today is a reminder that impact doesn't always happen in big moments. It happens in consistency, in care, in connection, in cultivation, in keeping people safe, in showing up for others again and again. John Ray represents what it means to build pathways, lead with purpose, and help students not just to access opportunities, but walk in it. And that's what Beyond What You See is all about, because what you see is not all that there is. And I'm Steve Robertson. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. John Ray.